Rick Macci coached Venus and Serena Williams, and this week he looked at Alexandra Eala, 21 years old and 7 wins into the best run of her life, and said her serve needs reconstructive surgery to become a laser, and if this happens, she add another taser. The day before he wrote that, a trainer was on court in Toronto taping her right ankle in the middle of the second set against Katie McNally. That is the week he chose, not after a defeat. In the middle of the best fortnight of her career, the man who built 2 of the greatest servers the women's game has produced looked at her motion and used the word surgery. And in a separate post, he wrote this: "Top 5 is around the bend as her new best friend." This is the story of why those should not be read as 2 separate opinions. Put them together and top 5 becomes a condition rather than a coronation, and the condition is the slowest repair in tennis with the US Open 3 weeks away. Before we get to what he actually diagnosed, you need to understand something about the serve that almost every reaction to this story skipped over. Every other shot in tennis is a reply. A forehand answers something, a backhand answers something. A return exists only because a serve came first. You can hide a weak backhand by running around it. You can pick on the other player's second serve and never have to solve your own problem. The serve is the only stroke in the sport with no opponent inside it. Nobody is doing anything to you. You have the ball, you have all the time there is, and whatever comes out is entirely yours. Which means it is the one shot that cannot be hidden, cannot be worked around, and cannot be borrowed from somewhere else in the game. That is why it decides service games at this level. A hold is usually settled by 2 or 3 points, and the cheapest points on the court are the ones where the rally never starts. An ace, a serve that comes back short, a return into the net. Win a free point or 2 per service game, and holding is administrative. Win none, and you are constructing every point from neutral against a returner who is already set over and over for 2 hours. Now look at the numbers underneath the streak because they are not what the highlights suggest. Across this season, Eala has landed roughly 63% of her first serves. She averages a little over 1 ace per match, which sits in the bottom 5th of the tour. She averages more than 2.5 double faults per match. Read those together and the picture is stark. She gives away more free points than she takes. She holds serve about 68% of the time. That is the ceiling Macci is pointing at, and he did not stop at pointing. He named the mechanism, which is the part that separates a coach from a commentator. His claim is that the timing of her leg drive against her racket entry is, in his words, 100% off, measured with the human eye and at 400 frames per second. He says the consequence is a decrease in acceleration and the right side to open too early and head to drop. This is the main culprit. Translate that. A serve is a chain that fires from the ground upward, legs load, hips turn, trunk uncoils, shoulder delivers, arm and racket arrive last and fastest. Each link hands its energy to the next at the right instant. If the racket starts back before the legs have finished loading, the chain fires out of order, and the arm is left to supply power the ground was supposed to give it. Same effort, less racket head speed. The rest follows from that. For a left-hander, the right side is the front side, and when the front shoulder and hip rotate open before contact, you are already facing the court while the ball is still above you. The contact point drops. The margin over the net shrinks. Now the serve either sails long or you take pace off it to keep it in, and the second choice is how a player ends up with more double faults than aces. Macci thinks the upside is enormous because the fault is mechanical, not physical. Being a lefty, she has an advantage, and if this is reconstructed, I can see a 115 miles per hour lefty laser, and more that will provide a breathtaking Philippine sunset, and she will win more sets. And that post opens where the optimism lives. If Eala gets biomechanical help on the serve, fasten seatbelt. Here is the problem with the timeline. The serve is the most grooved motion a player owns, thousands of repetitions deep, and the one stroke performed with unlimited time to think. That combination makes it the slowest thing in tennis to rebuild. Under pressure, the old pattern comes back at exactly the worst moment because pressure is when a body reaches for what it knows. Players rebuild serves in the off-season. Nobody rebuilds one in the 3 weeks before a Grand Slam. Which is why what she has already done matters so much. Eala won the Washington title without solving any of this. She beat Zheng Qinwen, Leylah Fernandez, Elina Svitolina, Naomi Osaka, and then Jessica Pegula, the world number 3 in the final 4-6, 6-4, 6-love. First Filipina to win a tour title in the Open era. Her ranking moved from 28 to a career high of 20, the first Filipina ever to stand inside the top 20. A year ago, she was 68th in the world. Then there is this. She is now 9-4 lifetime against top 10 opposition. Since 1990, the only players who won more of their first 13 matches against the top 10 are Martina Navratilova, Monica Seles, and Steffi Graf. She is doing that with a serve that a Hall of Fame coach says needs rebuilding, which is either the most damning fact in this story or the most encouraging one. Macci is worth listening to for a reason that goes beyond the Williams connection. 5 players he coached reached world number 1: Venus, Serena, Andy Roddick, Jennifer Capriati, Maria Sharapova. His juniors have won more than 324 national titles. He has been National Coach of the Year 7 times. When that person looks at emotion and says the leg drive is late, it is not a take. And he is not alone, which is what should worry the optimists. In the week before the Washington final, Renee Stubbs said flatly that Eala's serve will never allow her to win a Grand Slam. After the title, Stubbs softened and praised her and said, "She really loves the competitive part of what she does, and that is massive. That is what a winning streak does to punditry. It rounds the edges off." Macci did not round anything off. He delivered the compliment and the diagnosis in the same breath, at the exact moment when everyone else had stopped mentioning the problem. That is the difference between praise and analysis. So what has to be true in New York? Eala arrives ranked to be seeded for the first time at this event, and a seeding buys her an opening week against opponents who cannot punish a second serve. The verdict comes later in the second week against someone who holds easily and only needs one break to own the set. That is when a service game with no free points in it turns into a coin toss, and a player who has to flip that coin twice a set is not yet a top 5 player. The run is real, the wins are real, the ranking is real. What Macci said is that none of it is finished, and he is right, because the one shot nobody can take from her is also the one shot nobody can give her. She has to build it herself. Everything else she already has.